All right, welcome. I'm coming to you today live from the branch, OC's newest building, and now serves as the food service cafeteria area for our students. And so you can tell it's a lovely day today on campus. The campus is beautiful this summer, and it's really getting ready for the fall. I hope that when you get here that you'll enjoy the branch, and you'll be able to, with us closing early last year, with us going online, this is still pretty much relatively brand new, so you'll get to enjoy maybe a second grand opening. My name is Neil Arter. I'm the Dean of Students here at Oklahoma Christian, and I have been at OC for 29 years, and I continue to make OC my home because, not necessarily for what it is, although I love what it is, but it's really for me, I'm excited about the future and what it can become. And certainly you are a big piece of that, and so thank you. I will tell you too, as freshmen and transfers coming in, you are a real breath of fresh air for us. Just the excitement that we have for anticipating your arrival, as well as just being able to know that you are anxious to get here as well. It kind of has us getting fired up, and it's going to be here before we know it. So I know it's a big time for everyone. Just a heads up, at the end of the time today, I'm going to be asking some questions. I'm going to let you ask me some questions, and also I have a little bit of information for you as families and students about our COVID-19 response, and so I think you'll be able to hear a little bit more about that, and maybe I'll answer some of your questions there as well. I also want to make sure today that I encourage you to do your homework on this and try to learn more about the freshman experience staff. Usually on this day you'd get to spend some time with them, and you would kind of know who it is that you are going to be working with this year, and also you get to know a little bit more about them. So Trent Dobbs is the Director of Freshman Experience, and then Rachel Parrott and Savannah Matthews. Make sure you do your homework on them and get to know them. I know you'll love them, and I also know that they'll be a blessing to you this year. I want to take one more quick moment to thank our amazing marketing team here on campus. We had our first online or virtual take flight back in May, and certainly they had responded very quickly at that time to make that happen. But I also will tell you now, they've just really refined this in so many ways, and have really worked hard to bring this to you in a great way. So I want to thank Risa Forrester, Sarah Horton, Mandolin Skipworth, Micah Domina, Mindy Stafford, and Jacob Sullivan, who they've just really brought their expertise to make this a great event. So thanks for that. So as I mentioned, today's really a breath of fresh air for us, just the idea of trying to get ready for you to arrive and to be excited about that. It's really something that we don't take for granted, and it's a big opportunity for us. So you can imagine, with me being here for 29 years, I have observed quite a few things that work and don't work for students. And while there's not one size fits all, there certainly are some key things that I think you ought to really push for. So today I want to pass along a few of those before I then turn it over to you to ask some questions. And so be ready for that at the end. And if you have any questions, you can be submitting those, and they'll have them ready for us at the right time. So I want you to think about this, if you would, today. I want you to think about what you're going to do and how you're going to respond when life throws you a little bit of a curveball during your college experience. Now, it's not hard for you to imagine life throwing you a curveball. Many of you seniors that are coming in as freshmen, high school seniors coming in as freshmen, you've had curveballs thrown at you last year like nobody before, and you certainly have gone through a season in your life that was not how you had dreamed it and how you expected it to go. And then for some other new students, your plans of how things were going to go last year and the end of the year, they got changed, and so you're having to look at that. So I want you to think about this now. You get to decide how you respond to those things. Life's going to throw you some curveballs during college. It'll be something, some of them will be really minor, some of them will be a lot more extensive, but you're going to have to really work hard during this time to develop a grit about you that bounces back, and you choose to happen to those curveballs instead of letting those curveballs happen to you. Again, I don't think you have to stretch your mind. None of us have to stretch our mind very hard to think about what those curveballs could look like. But I would encourage you to be ready for those opportunities and make sure that you happen to those. You have influence over how you respond to it, and you also have influence over how you allow it to impact your life. Okay, and students, I want to tell you something here that I'm kind of disappointed to have to pass this along to you, because I don't think I make great friends with students when I say I agree with your parents, even though I am a parent. But here's the thing for you that I've observed, and the way I kind of see it, is who you choose to be around in college actually matters. I know you hate to hear it. You've been hearing your whole life, and now here I am coming to you and saying it actually matters. Who you choose to be around actually influences your success and influences your decisions. So, am I saying, hey, ditch all your friends and that friend that you were going to meet up with at OC, make sure you stay away? No, I'm not saying that. You still have to be friends, and you still have to be a decent person and a decent human, but you need to make sure you put yourself around people who will make you better as well, and so that your main influences are not coming from someone who doesn't have the same desire to achieve and to be excellent as you do. Since I'm not doing this in person, I feel pretty free to do this. I made an example one time of this about if you're a person that loves to play video games and you know that about yourself, and if you come to campus and look for someone that loves video games, you will find them. And I'm not talking about, we have a gaming and animation degree, and we also have a competitive gaming team. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that kind of binge gaming where you just sit for hours and hours, and especially those hours when you should be doing something else. If you want to find that when you come to campus, you will find that. But I encourage you to look for other people and find other people to get to know. And as part of that, it just helps determine how and where you'll succeed. I had, when I was a student, I remember I didn't really know how to study when I got to college. High school was just so different. So when I got to college, I really didn't know how to study. And what I finally figured out was the people that were making better grades than me in my classes, and the people who were seemed like school was a lot easier, they were doing something called studying, and they were going to some building called the library, and I just paid attention to what they were doing to be successful. Again, you know yourself, you know what it's going to take. Some of you might be like me, where you're going to need to actually study in college, and you're going to need to learn a format of doing that. And so I just beg you and encourage you to think about who you put around you. I think it's really important. The next point I want to make to you is something that's it's a little bit interesting. I don't think it's a big surprise to you either, but it's time to turn the page. You're coming out of high school. Some of you are really disappointed the way high school ended. I get it, and we're sorry for that. We feel the same way for our students here on this campus who didn't get to walk across the stage for graduation. We still hope to make that right with them, by the way, and we're working on several plans for that. But it's time to turn the page, and you're going to start something now in college that's way bigger. And if I could say too, in the United States, almost anyone can start college, but that doesn't mean everyone can finish. And so I really want you to be thinking about the fact that this is something that's bigger than your experiences you've had before. And your parents will tell you for what it cost, it should be a great experience and a big experience. And so be ready to accept that. You're going to be sitting in class with people who you'll be able to tell, wow, that person's going to push me and make me better. You're going to be sitting in class with people that you're going to realize they're from an international country, and they're going to be going home and making a huge difference in their country. A few years ago, we had some students here from Rwanda. We still have students here from Rwanda, but a few years ago, these students were going home in the summer, and they were drilling wells in their home country in some of the villages that didn't have clean water. And I was just thinking that here we are, you're sitting in class with students who are going and giving just basic life, but very important life-giving things to their fellow countrymates. And I hope that you will just think about the fact that those people you're sitting in class with them, they're changing people's lives, and so will you. You have those opportunities. So I mentioned a while ago that almost anyone can start, but it's important that you remember too that you need to start talking about and figuring out how to finish. So for the most part, most of you have figured out how to get this first year up and running, and parents, I understand the cost factors, of that very well. And I also know that it's not always very clear. But parents, I will encourage you to lead the way on this. Start talking about finishing what you're starting instead of just starting college. I know it's been such a big deal, and you're saying, Neil, I haven't even started college yet, so quit talking about finishing it. But I promise you that if you talk about those things of finishing, your students' parents, they start noticing that encouragement that you're giving them. When you start saying things like, when you finish your first year, when you finish college, you start planting in them the idea of succeeding in that way. So I really hope you'll think about that. Several years ago, I was on a parent panel for a visit day, which maybe some of you have come to a visit day on campus before. I bet most of you have. And I was on a parent panel. There were about 3 or 4 sets of parents, and then on the far end from me was our director of financial services, and I was on the other end, and we were taking questions. And I was sitting next to a dad who I knew pretty well. I knew his 3 daughters. He was within a year of having all 3 of his daughters here at one time. And someone asked a question in the audience. If I could have gone and grabbed the person in the audience and maybe drug them out of there, I would have. Because they asked a question of the man sitting next to me. They said, man, you had 3 daughters that came through almost all at the same time. How did you afford it? It's so expensive. How did you afford it? And I know this man, and he's a real straight shooter, okay? So he's a West Texas farmer. He's a real straight shooter. And he starts talking about that, and I'm sitting here just cringing right next to him thinking, oh, he's going to blast us. Here it goes. He's going to talk about how, he said, you know what? It is expensive. And he said, it's expensive, and you got to figure out a way to get it done. And he told a story. He said, I want to tell you a story about how one of the ways I look at this. And I guess his story goes that his best friend is his banker, which I don't know a lot about farming, but apparently that's a good idea, to have your best friend be a banker. And he said, I went to that banker, and he told him, Ronnie, I hope you come up 1 load short on the hay this year. And this farmer next to me, our dad, he says, why would you wish that? We're friends, and you're wishing on me that I will fail or I will come up short. And he said, why would you do that? And his banker said, so then you can see that God will provide for you, and he always does. And so by that point, this dad, the big West Texas farmer, he's tearing up. Most of the parents in the audience are tearing up because they realize that God does provide, and he takes care of those moments. And so the dad continues on to say that every year when he would get his bill for his daughter's tuition, something would happen, and it would allow him to be able to move on that. He'd get the bill, he'd look at it, someone would come along and say, hey, Ronnie, what are you doing with that truck out front there? You haven't moved it in years. I'd like to buy that thing. And he looks at that bill and looks at that truck and said, I'd like to sell that truck. And so that was the way that would always go. So parents, I ask you to commit now to talking about finishing. And even though you can't see clearly the way, I do know that we can all trust that God's going to lead us through this and that you will make it there. Well, finally, I want to just remind you, well, I guess I have 2 more things, but next to last one here is this. Your whole college experience is all based on one thing, and that is, what do you put into it? Because if you put a lot into it, you're going to get a lot out of it. If you put good into it, you'll get good out of it. If you put bad into it, you'll get bad out of it. So what you do and what you decide in that way is huge in your whole college experience. So parents, if your kid calls you and they say, hey, there's nothing going on. Well, that's not true. There's too much going on. I'm afraid that too many things going on for our freshmen. But if they call you and say that, ask them if they've left the room. That might be the problem. You got to get out. You got to go do something. You got to put yourself out there. I know for some of you, you think you're like me. I'm actually quite a bit more introverted than people that work with me know. But I'm not asking you to go out there and become an extrovert. I'm not. That's not healthy. That's not good for us. I know you need your time. But I also know that you're blessed and encouraged when you get out and meet the people around you. There are amazing people on this campus. They're your fellow students. They're your faculty members. They are dedicated staff members who all are able to help you and serve you and encourage you along the way. So you got to get out there and meet them and put yourself out there for that. And finally, I just want you to know that on this campus, you're not going to be defined by your worst day. You're not going to be defined by your worst decision or your worst actions. Instead, you're going to be defined by the fact that God loves you and values you. And so that's going to be something that's really important. And hopefully you'll never feel like you ever had to deal with that statement that I just made. But I do want you to know that this is a place where we recognize the fact that God loves you, and so then in turn we love you, and we want the best for you. And so please understand that we're not looking for your worst day, and we're not going to define you by that. I've been blessed with a pretty short memory of things just roll off of me. I've passed people before, and they look at me and kind of cringe a little bit. Maybe something that we had a conversation about when they were a student. I have no idea what they're talking about. So I think God blessed me with that. And so you're not going to be defined by your worst day here. And so instead, I want you to know that we know that God loves you, and so do we. Well, so certainly a lot of people right now, parents and students alike, are concerned or have a lot of questions about our fall opening and how we will respond to the pandemic that's happening around the world. I want you to know that we have been working hard to be prepared for that. A matter of fact, next Friday at 10:30, there's going to be a live Instagram and Facebook meeting with Dr. Jeff McCormick, who's our new Chief Academic Officer, and he's also the head lead on our COVID response team. He and Dr. DeSteiger will be available for questions from you about the university's response, and also just to pass along a little bit more information to you about how we will be able to help you get through this semester. We are very confident that we're going to have a great semester and do the best that we can to be healthy and to stay on the right side of this whole virus, right? And so we want a normal start. We want a full semester. We want all of those things that you want out of this semester. But we also know that we're going to be willing to and be able to accommodate the things that the State Health Department, the Centers for Disease Control, everyone that recommends for us of ways to be healthy. And so we'll be doing those things. We'll be following those guidelines. And I'm excited for the way this semester will go. I'm really thankful for some really good coworkers that I have that are able to be prepared for this. They're working hard to make sure that we've done everything we can to be ready. And so I know you'll be blessed by that as well. We're also really blessed to have some great partnerships with our contractors who help us carry out the plan to keep the campus clean and also to serve food that's going to be safe for you and just make sure the whole environment is good. And so we're thankful for our partnerships as well. We're blessed with faculty that will be able to accommodate students' needs during this time. And we're certainly aware that someone could get sick during the semester, and even if they're not feeling sick, they may be maybe test positive. And we'll be able to accommodate that. We have faculty that are working on ways to be able to accommodate the students at the same time, be able to keep everyone else safe. And so we're excited about that. Student safety and your health is a priority to us. And so please know that, and please know that in all the decisions that we make along the way. When you arrive on campus, you're going to receive some things to help you with that. And I'll let Dr. McCormick talk about that a little bit more next week. But I want you to know that we're preparing in every way that's recommended to us. We have areas where we can help students kind of isolate and all those things. So we're really excited about that. Again, I want to stress to you that we're going to work really hard to have a typical year, a typical start to that. And so just be ready to work with us and accommodate the changes that we'll have to make. And as we all work together, I think we'll be able to have a great year. Parents, I want to remind you that we will be communicating with you via email. So if you do not know, or if you're not sure if we have the right email address for you, you might get with your admissions counselor and make sure that they have the right information for you. And we'll be sending out some things to you. Probably a lot more communication this semester and this year, just basically because of so much communication that will happen and how much things will change during that time. Okay, so I want to just remind you again as we're about to start taking some questions from you. And so if you have some questions, you can post those. I think we already have some in, so we'll be able to jump right into that. But I want you to know that this year is going to be a blessing to you. And while it's going to be strange in a lot of ways, we've never seen anything like this before, it's also going to be special in many ways. And I think we have a chance for all of us to respond and be a light to others and encouragement to others. And we're also going to have a chance to make decisions with what we do in the way that will bless others as well. And that should be a great year. I know this year also will have its tension points, and that's just every year has those. And I think we'll be heading into this year with an extra measure of patience and kindness for each other. And I know that God will bless this year for all of us. All right, so let's get to some of your questions now. I'm going to check over here.
A few, but if they have any, just tell them to submit it in the bottom right.
Okay, so on the bottom right corner of the screen there, you can submit your questions. We do have a few, but if you have more, you want to send those in, you can just do that right there on the bottom right corner. All right, what's the first question?
Neil, what is your favorite place on campus?
Okay, Neil, what is your favorite place on campus? Man, that is a great question. I think for me, we've added a new area in the last couple of years called the Hartman Place, and we have a remembrance area there, and where you can go and pray, and also just do some kind of chalk memories or something like anything that you're thinking about that time. And that area on campus to me is a really special area. So I would think right now that's my favorite area. But I have a lot of positive memories all over the place. And so some of you that have been that are alums of Oklahoma Christian, as you look behind me right now, this was barren land when we were students here. And now it's a beautiful area. So the whole Lawson Commons is a blessing to our campus. And so there's a lot of special areas on campus, but I would say the Hartman Place and the Remembrance area is really special.
Next question, when will we find out our roommates and dorm assignments?
Okay, when will we find out our roommates and dorm assignments? That information is available already for you to look at. So if you log on to MyOC, and you should have gotten an email from OC Housing, I think is the email address for that. And it may be Residence Life instead of Housing, but just look in your email, your MyOC email, to see if you see something from them there. And that information should be available to you. If you have any questions about that, I just encourage you to contact the Residence Life office, and you'll find people there that will be able to answer other questions for you. But that information has been sent out and is available. You can also see it on MyOC. If you log in on MyOC and then look in My Info, you'll see that there as well.
What is your go-to item in the branch? What's your food item?
Okay, this is an important question. This is what's your go-to item in the branch, in the new CAF here? Well, there's really a couple of ways to answer that. So you got each meal, right, where you have to kind of pick your favorite there. I have forever loved the omelet bar here at OC. I go all the way back to Leon, my first omelet chef here at OC, that made omelets for me. So the omelet's amazing in the morning. Getting to make a custom omelet the way you want it, the ingredients you want. Students, you can put all the stuff in it that your mom never would let you put in an omelet before, and so you can just put it all in there. It's awesome. And so for breakfast, it's the omelet. For lunch, man, I feel like I'm really just being a kind of a bandwagon person here, but the buffalo chicken salad is my favorite. And I say a bandwagon because the buffalo chicken's pretty popular all the way around. And so you can get it as a salad, you can get it as a wrap, but the buffalo chicken salad is my favorite for lunch. And then for dinner, I'm going to go with the orange peel chicken and rice, which is fantastic. And so I think you'll find all of those delicious. There's a lot of great food options in the cafeteria. Cafeterias in general kind of they're difficult for a lot of people just because anytime you eat somewhere several times in a week, it feels different to you. Most of you don't eat at home as much as you will eat in this cafeteria in the branch here. But it's a blessing to us. Trust me, no one should take that for granted. It's a real blessing.
To go along with that question, somebody asked, is there a vegan or vegetarian option in the branch?
Someone asked if there's a vegan or vegetarian option in the branch. And yes, there's a service in there that an area that handles all special diets. And I know that being a vegan or vegetarian is not necessarily a special diet, but they handle that through that same serving area. And so it's where the gluten-free dishes are and all those kind of things. To be honest, I'm a little bit jealous of that area because the chef there, she makes some of the most creative meals and they are delicious. And so you'll see me sometimes kind of sneaking over there to grab some of that as well. But at that place, they have anything that you would want. So I don't think anyone has trouble being a vegetarian or vegan in the branch with all the different food options that you have. I will also tell you that the food service, U-Dining, they accommodate over 100 different special diets for students every semester. So it's nothing for them. They know that they're here to serve you and that they'll do the best they can to help you through whatever it is and whatever choices you make.
What advice do you have for students who will be working and paying for college by themselves? You mentioned parents finding a way, but is that the same? Is that true for students?
So the question was, what advice do I have for students who are going to try to work and go to college and to help pay for college? Sounds like they're saying not just for spending money, but really for all the way around. I apologize. Looks like we're sponsored by Sam's today. So Sam's, give us some money. I want to tell you that's a great question. And the end of that question too, when you talk about parents finding a way to make it happen, does that apply to students as well? It certainly does apply to students. And I do know that some of you will be working this on your own a lot more than others, and I respect that. And I understand the challenge that is. I do think it's important that you think about this factor as you think about working. If you're going to work to make money to pay for school, but you cannot take enough hours and it pushes you back to have to take another year of college, then you need to look really hard at that. And parents, you need to think really hard about that as well. A few years ago, I had a conversation with a dad who he had his student work all through college, and the dad just wanted him to learn some responsibility. I think the dad could have afforded to pay it, but he just wanted him to have some responsibility and kind of have some skin in the game, if you will. Well, he came to me and we were just talking, and he told me it was a big regret of his how much he made his son work, because of that, his son was having to take a 5th year, and there was no way that his son had made enough money during his college working, especially after whatever he spent of it, that it would have helped pay for a 5th year. And so just my advice to you is to be careful not to let it get you behind in your classes and in your progress toward graduation. Now, a popular way to do that is to take summer classes, and we have a lot of those here, a lot of online classes here in the summer as well, so you could do that from wherever you have a job, a summer job. But make sure you stay on schedule. When you finish your first year, try to have as close to 32 hours as you can. Same thing with your second year, try to get up to 64. And so it's just really important that you not get behind the chains on that whole thing. And so do that and really make that a priority. Otherwise, I will tell you that students that have to work a lot have to really discipline themselves. And so you're going to have to prioritize what really matters and doesn't matter. And there's going to be times that everyone else might be going out and doing something and you're going to need to be studying. But you also might think about the fact that you may be studying, but you're probably, some of those people that are going out may not be making the best grades either. They're not getting their work done. They should be with you. But so you can do it and you can make it work. And I do honestly respect that so much. The challenge that you find yourself in is noble and very respectable.
What are some ways to be involved on campus?
Okay, the question was, what are some ways to be involved on campus? This is a pretty general statement, and I would just tell you there are so many ways. And one of the things I would encourage you to think about is try to, as you get involved on campus, try to make it fit your degree as well. And so if you haven't chosen a degree, you're undecided at this point, undeclared, that's okay. Think about one that you would like to do. If you're thinking about business, try to get involved in some of the things in the College of Business. They'll let you do that. And you just kind of get to feel it out a little bit. I'll pick on the College of Business a little bit. You might get up there and you realize, oh, these aren't my people or whatever. They probably are your people. But if you get up there and that's not your thing, that's okay. You just figured it out without having to go too far down the road, and you were just getting involved in that way. Maybe it's you're kind of torn between two things, and you get a little bit involved with both of them. But I encourage you to really think about that. And for those of you, for example, that are science majors, there are so many organizations for you to be involved with, and we don't do anything at OC hardly at all that's just extra. There's a reason for everything that we do. So you might even ask yourself that sometimes when you see a decision we make. You're like, what's the deal there? Why are they making that decision? There's a reason. There's a method to this madness. You're in science, for example. Your organizations that you can get involved with there, I'll just take one off the top of my head, Eagle Health Initiative. That is a huge resume builder for when you apply for medical school, or when you try to go to grad school, or when you want to get a job in a lab, or whatever that might look like. Because there are a lot of activities that they do and things they do that you can volunteer in that really sets you up well for the future. And that's what they're trying to do. They're giving you opportunities. So I just encourage you to look for those things. There are a lot of things to do on campus. There are so many organizations, and they have specialties that you might never dream of, but it's a really great opportunity. It's a really great part of college as well. I'm going to kind of contradict myself here, but if you have a chance to do something outside of your degree area too, do it. There's a group called Outreach on campus. They love missions, and they help promote missions on campus and provide mission opportunities. Do it. Get involved with that. Just see what else is going on around you. This world's bigger than just us, so get out there to see what's really happening.
This person asked, I'm considering buying and cooking my own food rather than using a meal plan. Do you think this is a good idea?
Okay, so someone is asking, they're thinking about buying and preparing their own food instead of having a meal plan. Do I think this is a good idea? Well, let me just tell you first of all that all students at OC have a meal plan, so you're going to have a meal plan. I understand what you're saying, though, buying and cooking your own food. Several things that play here. Freshman areas and really sophomore areas, there aren't many kitchen opportunities in your living arrangements. They're not in your room. And I know what some of you are going to tell me, I can cook in a microwave. And I get that. I know what you're saying. But it's not a real healthy and good way to be eating. And so it's not real available to you there. By the time you become a junior, your meal plan is much smaller, and it just takes into account that you might eat lunch every day over at the branch, knowing that you're in classes and you just come and grab something really quick. There's also Eagle Bucks on your meal plan that allows you to grab something at the campus Chick-fil-A, as well as other opportunities on campus and in a close area. So everyone has a meal plan, just know that. As for fixing food for yourself, I think that's something you kind of learn and hone during college for sure, right? Some of you may already be pretty developed with that because you've done that for your family or whatever that might look like. But as college begins for you, especially freshmen, but even transfers, a lot of things happening, a lot of things changing around you. You don't want to be too dragged down by having to accommodate those meals. It's kind of nice when someone just takes care of it for you. And so I just encourage you with that. Also, too, when I tell you earlier there's a method to the madness, we want this food time to have community around food is biblical, right? We see that examples of that often. And we also have known the value of that for all of us. And so this time in the branch is a time to have community and a time to for you to understand what's going on with people around you, kind of get you outside of yourself. So I hope you'll value that as well.
What are intramurals going to look like?
So the question is, what are intramurals going to look like? As you can imagine, we're trying to make every accommodation we can to be ready for every different scenario. We're part of an organization that helps kind of send information around to all kinds of universities about these different areas. And so we're getting some feedback from what is being developed following CDC guidelines for how you can have sports. I know for one example, the first sport is softball, and it's hugely encouraged that you not be sharing equipment. Some people take their softball intramural games very seriously. Some people do not. It's not that uncommon for you to see someone running in and throwing their glove to someone on the other team to use the glove. And so they're encouraging everyone to have their own gloves when they come this year. And also, that's just one example. But they're going to be taking every precaution they can. It's very possible that we will not have fans at the intramural games. That will be too bad in some ways, because there's a lot of fun that happens there. But as soon as we can, and as soon as it's appropriate, we will have students there, and we'll kind of be back to whatever normal is. But just know that there will be some adjustments along the way, and there will be some accommodations to things. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to wash your hands and for you to sanitize your hands, and maybe even to be able to wipe down the things around you. There'll be a lot of those opportunities as well. And I don't think for returning students this year, they're going to be blown away by the number of hand sanitizer dispensers around campus. And I think it's pretty impressive. And so you'll notice that when you get here as well. And so hopefully you will be able to feel safe with that. And then also too, I think there might be some students who choose not to do intramurals this year because of that safety factor. And that's understandable too. That's a wise decision for some people.
Neil, as an OC student, what were you involved in?
Okay, so as an OC student, what was I involved in? Well, I'm so old, and so all those things, they aren't here anymore. Those things all fall down. And most of my time during my college years was spent in a radio station that we had on campus, KOCC 88.9. Oh, I almost forgot that. 88.9. And when you're involved in the radio station, it took a lot of time to do that. And so I was kind of a radio rat or something. I don't know. I spent a lot of time in there. And I opened it up. I don't know if my friends know this or not. I would open it up every morning at 5:30. I put it on the air during the Monday through Fridays. And oh man, that was awesome. There was no one else walking around campus at that time. That was nice, I guess. But that was a big part of it. And so I made a lot of friends through that. I also had a lot of friends, though, that were in social service clubs on campus. I was not in one. I didn't think I could afford it at the time. Looking back on it, I realized how much money I wasted in other ways I could have put toward that. But I just didn't think I could afford it. But I still had friends in all the different clubs. And so I felt like I was kind of in those clubs and involved in those things. And so that was a big deal for me as well. Other things that I was involved with. I don't think I ever officially got involved with outreach, although I would attend some of the meetings, but I never was officially a member. And I regret that, especially as I see now all the good things that they do. And so, the radio station dominated me. Was my experience. It was good though. I've made a lot of great friends.
This student asked, how good is the esports group at OC? Have they won any contests? This person is a gaming and animation major, thinking about joining. I guess you can answer who they can contact too.
Okay. All right. So the question was about how good is the esports team and at OC? Well, this is the first year for the esports team, so brand new. If you're thinking about getting involved with that, I'd encourage you to do that, just to be kind of just to feel it out, get to be an inaugural member of the esports team. I do know they have an exciting year ahead of them. There's a lot of opportunities for competitions. Some of them, they don't care whether they're traveling or not, right? They're still able to do some of those things. And so that's pretty valuable as far as that goes. And as far as how you might get involved with that, I would just encourage you to reach out to Ellie Kirkner and allow her to kind of connect you up with the esports team. And you can find her at ellie.kirkner, rkner@oc.edu. And she's in the gaming animation area, and she'll be able to kind of connect you to that. It's going to be exciting to see how this esports team forms. It's a kind of a fun new world out there with this. Not that esports is new, or not that games are new, but the competition factor is going to be really cool. So we're looking forward to that. Hope you can get involved in this first year as well.
That's all the questions we have on the chat.
Okay, some good questions. Trying to think about what questions you didn't cover. What do we do in case of a tornado? We just panic and just run, scatter? No. We have a plan on campus for how we handle severe weather. That plan is on the back of each dorm room door. And so I would just say that for the parents' sake, that that's a good thing. And also we have a way to communicate to the entire campus through the Notify app. And so it's OC, if you go to oc.edu/notify, you can sign up, or you can make sure that we have the right information for you there. You log into that with your OC email and your MyOC account information. So you'll just go there, and you can check that. You can add parents as well to get the messages, the Notify messages. That's up to you. We don't do that automatically, so that's up to you to choose that and to add that information. Your parents might get we don't use it except for emergencies or except for urgency. So you might not really you won't get that many messages from it unless we have some severe weather or any other kind of threat to campus. We would communicate with you through that way. So you just know that we have a plan for that. And so anyway, I think we're about to the end of the day. And just some encouragement for you and just reminders for you. First of all, as you go through, continue on in the website. There will be some other things for you to do this afternoon, so keep following along with the schedule and kind of take that to the end, if you will. And then also, we can't wait to see you. I know this is awkward for some of you, but I want you to know we can't wait to see you on move-in day and all throughout the semester. We hope that you will continue to stay in touch with us, ask questions as you have them, and God bless you and be well.